right, welcome to the Rose Garage. This guy bought a race car, and he's gonna let me drive it.
Here we go.
And I question how we got here. So a few Fridays ago, I got a message from this man in the morning, and he was excited. He sold his NC Miata and was just gonna reevaluate things this winter, and kind of see what happens for 2021. That was about at noon, maybe 11 o'clock. That day, maybe after a few beverages, this decision was made. So, do you want to tell us how we got here, Seth?
Yeah, it's a tough economy out there. COVID's really changed and impacted a lot of people, and felt like being a little more conservative. So I sold the NC, I just went down to the Civic Type R, and realized that there was an opportunity afoot, and that we had to capitalize. And that's where this car comes in. Great sellers, Myriad Motorsports, really transparent, shipped the car promptly. And it was just an opportunity to get into a racing series that both John and I want to get into, and felt like now was the time. I was also sitting next to an envelope full of cash.
Yeah, so. Responsible life decisions.
Well, sometimes you be an adult, and sometimes you don't.
Yeah, that's what we call these things. So
I was conservative for about 6 hours.
Yeah, it's about right in our friendship. I feel like it's an accurate statement. So.
But look at all of this half a car that we got.
Yeah, so we have race cars. So it's K24, it's Integra. It ran in GLTC last year. We're both old Honda guys. Love these golden era Honda cars, if that's what you want to call them. And yeah, it should be a great platform to learn about wheel-to-wheel racing, kind of get our feet wet and see if we really want to start burning money this way in the future. So this is, call it an opportunity.
And this is a great transition, right? Both you and I are already in time attack. We're already doing things on racetracks.
Yeah.
This just presents an opportunity to potentially be competitive in a wheel-to-wheel series that arguably is one of the hottest series out there right now.
Yeah, it's fun to watch at the track. It's fun to watch on the live stream. I'm watching it when I'm sitting at home, or if I'm at the track, doesn't really matter. And yeah, we're already burning 50s, so maybe we're burning hundreds.
Maybe it's $100 bills. It's hard to say.
But yeah, so this makes a lot of sense, and we're at the back of the pack, or by some long shot up at the front. It'll be fun either way.
And Gridlife's done such a great job with the series themselves. The night races, from the live streams to the videos surrounding the events. It really just brings an atmosphere to racing that kind of hasn't been there before. And not to knock it, because we're longtime SCCA guys, but there's a stigma to the SCCA crowd that's different from the Gridlife crowd. And
the SCCA, kind of stuffy, and you might buy a car like this and find out, you're classed with 3 guys on a weekend, and that's no fun. Racing with 50. Better, right?
Yeah, or I'm classed in an unlimited class because I have a shift knob that doesn't correlate to a classing rule.
The SCCA would never do anything like that.
So there's a lot that's really appealing about GLTC and Gridlife in general. Knowing what this year's 2020's time attack class has been, the competitiveness and the development of those cars to be competitive.
The burning of funds, the money,
the arms race, if you will. It just wasn't in the budget.
Yeah, definitely not in the budget.
This was still not in the budget, but we're closer to the budget.
All right, Seth, so walk me through, what do we got here? What happened?
Sure, so what happened is, right, so this is a 98 Acura Integra GSR. Like we mentioned, it does have a K24, which we'll get to in a moment. But this, again, is a GLTC car. So it's a car set up with front aero, rear aero, running race tires, Hoosiers 225s in the front on those wonderful Koenig decograms, with a really nice big brake kit back there.
Yeah, really big set of brakes under these 17s. Looks like we got a 5-lug swap up front and in back.
Yeah, so Integra Type R, 5-lug swap in the front, RSX 5-lug swap in the rear. This is running what the forum kids call a 36 millimeter spline shaft. And my understanding is looking at a RSX Type S drive shaft and a Civic Si drive shaft on the right. So definitely some hodgepodge, but running OEM parts is pretty important in this application because of the durability.
Yeah, I agree. And yeah, the forum kids are making us sound pretty old here. But yeah, so I think one of the big benefits of this car is that, this successfully competed in events last year.
That's right.
So I think that's a big win, a good starting point. Looks like we have some rear aero.
That's right. This is the Pci Rear Wing, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, so something there. It's got an older seat, some older belts, but it's there, has a cage, and yeah, has a lot of the right things to be a race car.
And it's a running, driving, racing car. Our goal with all of this is, yes, to change it, but to also continue that status of a running, driving, racing car. So this is a great starting point. It does have some negatives about it. We still have the B18 harness in this car, so it does complicate things a little bit more. You might look and see a couple of rat's nests and definitely some opportunity for simplifying. But at the end of the day, this is ready to go. We can go turn laps tomorrow. If we want.
Yeah. So yeah, let's see what's under the hood here. What really makes it purr, if you will.
Welcome to a JDM TSX. If I can open it.
We'll learn how to open the hood later. That's fine.
So this is a JDM TSX Type S motor, K24. Made into an RSX 5-speed transmission with an M factory differential in it. So we have all the good bits, using the Hasport mounts, the car set, AC delete, idler pulleys, Reinhardt front suspension, or Reinhardt suspension all around.
Yeah, I think it has the key things, right? LSD, pretty mandatory for any front-wheel drive race car, I think. Good TSX to make the power required for GLTC. And that's another really appealing point of the GLTC series is you don't have to make a ton of horsepower. So I started down the path in street mod time attack, and it's just an arms race. Cars are making 500-600 horsepower, and that costs money, time, reliability. My car last year, even making 350, went through a motor.
Yeah,
and hopefully, with this, just OEM parts, nothing fancy per se, you can make the power all day long, and we can take the equation of the engine out of it and just focus on actually turning laps.
And arguably detuned, right? We all know that K-swaps make boatloads of power. It's not unheard of to be in the 300 wheel horsepower range. We're only asking 200 wheel out of this car, on a good day. So I think that this really takes a lot of the stress out of the motor so that we can get into those wheel-to-wheel races that we don't have to worry about that particular aspect of it.
So I think we looked over the car a lot, and I just drove out to see it today, and it's a great place to start. But of course, there's some things that we need to change to make it our own, I think. And one of the first things we noticed, at least for us, when you get in this guy, it's so high. So I got in here earlier with a helmet, and yeah, not gonna work. So definitely gonna have to look at swapping this seat out, probably moving it down quite a bit. But otherwise, wheels nice, everything else seems fine. But definitely want to get some more headroom to give us some comfort.
Comfort, safety, I think. Yeah, ingress, egress.
From a safety standpoint, banging into the roll bar is probably not a good idea. So that's one big thing we noticed right off the bat. Another thing is some of the wiring and packaging of the Integra electronics.
Let's get in there and get a real close look.
Versus the K-Series electronics, you want to say. So a big task of any swap is kind of managing the wire. And I think we just want to go through it and try to eliminate potential failure points. I don't want any of this, rubbing against something to cost us a race weekend, trying to identify some small problem. So I think we want to try to clean that up.
Yeah, and I think that's part of that byproduct of the B18 harness still being in there and taking the time. And even the Myriad guys had mentioned their target with this was to get on track as soon as possible. So they didn't spend the time on the interior that they had wanted to spend because they were busy racing it and getting the critical parts of the car together. So
Yep. And I think that's stuff we can easily kind of develop into the next stage of its life.
Yeah, there's certainly some projects in here. This is one of the more notable ones.
Yeah, some speaker wire it looks like, and maybe some Amazon LED headlights. But yeah, this is the stuff, easy tasks over the winter. All right, one of the biggest things we want to start with on this car is the wheel and tire package. So arguably tires is the most important part of the car, right? Only thing touching the track. So this has currently 17 by 9s, I think, with a 225 Hoosier, which for an Integra is a big wheel and tire package. Part of the reason is it has this pretty baller stop tech, big brake kit, floating rotors, nice big 4-piston caliper. But based on some of the other cars running this series, we think the 17 is a little too much. These brakes are maybe a little too much. So we're gonna get it up in the air, take this wheel off, kind of see what we're working with. But the intent is probably to go back to a 4-lug, go back to a 15. So that does a few things. Lighter weight, cheaper tires. We do have to go to a smaller brake, but again, save some more weight on that too. But it also gets the car down. So right now, this thing sits up pretty high for a Honda. And if we go down to the 15-inch wheel, we think there's some speed to be gained there. So we're going to get the car up in the air, take the wheel off, and see what we're working with.
All right, so here we are. We're in the front driver's side corner. And again, we're getting a good look at that giant stop tech kit. Really great 12.5-inch rotors. Again, a 4-piston front caliper setup. Arguably overkill for a car this weight, but some really nice hardware on here. We're also looking back at some of the tie rods, and all the control arm connections are all spherical bearings and bushings, so a lot of adjustability, a lot of potential for setting this car up the way that it fits us and the way that we drive. How that is, we don't know yet.
So as we were checking this thing out, we noticed it has some history. So if you look under here, I call it a bump draft bar, I suppose, but Seth was saying from the previous owners said this used to be a drag car?
That's right, yeah, so this was actually the parachute mount, and I think that this plate that's welded in back here along with these couple other plates were either used for the parachute mount or a roll cage that this car has had. This car has some history. It's been a race car for a long time, even though it has 56,000 miles.
Yeah, 50,000 miles on the chassis. So,
yeah.
Starting with some clean things. But yeah, I know drag racing cages have a whole different level of cert than, stuff we would use for wheel to wheel. So I'm sure some of these extra plates were serving a purpose at one point, but thankfully we got rid of that way before it came to us.
We are keeping the rear bar though. This again is bump draft protection.
Yeah. I think if you want to help us to the front, feel free.
This is it. With this car came a couple of goodies. One of them is a Plastics 4 Performance rear glass replacement. This is made out of polycarbonate. It is, I don't think it's vacuum formed, but it is formed, you can kind of see here, to match the shape of the OEM glass. This is kind of unique when you start talking about the Lexan replacements or the other options available on the market. This also comes with a hard coating that prevents it from scratching. And honestly, without much exposure to these types of products, this is something that's actually really impressive to me. I've had great communication with them already. This, again, was a part that came with a car that I bought. I haven't paid them any money, but a big shout out to Alex at Plastics 4 Performance, because he has given me so much information on how to install this, the right methods, the right products to use, even based on the climate that I'm working in, and really given us a bunch of confidence in installing this correctly and getting close to the 50-pound weight savings that we can see high up on this hatch.
So what did we learn today? So I think we got a really good base to start with. I'm really excited to go through some of the small items that we identified as improvements, the wheels, wiring, honestly, really simple stuff, right? And I think we'll have a really, really nice car for us to learn in next year.
Yeah, I agree. There's nothing scary about this car. It's set up nicely. All the major ingredients are there. We really couldn't ask for much more as a jump off point to get into GLTC. Obviously, we want to make our own small adjustments, but at the end of the day, this is an awesome starting point that we're super excited about.
Yeah. So next steps. One big next step, I think, is obviously Myra Motorsports. Thank you, but I think the look's gotta go. Not really a teal guy, to be honest with you.
But
the valve cover.
The valve cover, though.
Details. Yeah, so obviously we've had a really good relationship with Hawk Performance Brakes, and we'll be continuing that relationship in this venture into GLTC. So one of the big steps for us is figure out, something looks good in Hawk spirit and colors to wrap the car in. So that's something we'll be working on for next year. And obviously running their brake products, through all the races.
Yeah, and that's another thing, right? When we're looking at resetting the wheels, resetting the tires, resetting the brake package on this, we're absolutely going to our friends at Hawk and we're going to say, we got to know what's going to work best for this application in this scenario. And that's where they really come into play. They shine in these types of situations where they're able to give great guidance and get us out on track and with an effective brake package, leveraging their knowledge. So really definitely looking forward to that. Looking forward to all the different things that we're going to get to do with this car. This next year is going to be seat time, GLTC, seat time. So it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be hectic, but it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yep, super excited, and stay tuned for more content about the Integra. So hopefully next time maybe we have a name. I don't know.
A name. We need to come up with what our strategy is in GLTC. Probably should start wrenching on it. Gotta order some parts.
It's time flies, so it's gonna be longer. Until next time. See you guys soon.
Yep. Thanks for watching.